So I think they missed a trick by not calling the Equalizer 2 the Sequelizer. Get it? Sequelize. And they could call the third one the Threequalizer. It's the third. Please don't stop watching. I promise I won't do that again.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Starring amongst others Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal, Ashton Sanders, Bill Pullman and Melissa Leo. Directed by Antoine Fuqua off of a screenplay by Richard Wenk. This is my review for The Equalizer 2. So The Equalizer 2 returns us to the life of Robert McCall, played by Denzel Washington. Now he's a Lyft driver and he's still being a vigilante of sorts. He's still looking out for the people and doing his thing. But there's a murder that happens in Brussels that's linked back to some things that he was involved with in the past and some of the people that he was involved with in the past, and he finds himself caught up in it while trying to help a kid who's kind of switching between being an artist and being involved in a gang, and he's trying to set him on the right path as well. And it's interesting to note that this, I believe, is the first sequel that Denzel Washington has ever done. This is the first time he's come back for a second outing to play the same character. And it's easy to see why, because the character of Robert McCall is such a cool character. He is. He's so great. It's the way he conducts himself and the way he's played by Denzel Washington is that he's a guy who's absolutely terrifying and you believe he could kill you. He could kill you very, very easily without breaking a sweat, but at the same time, he's very nice. He's very tempered. He's very calming. And it's that like dual layer that Washington plays so well, and you can see why that attracts him to this character, because the two of them just fit together so perfectly. And this is a movie that, without question, gets by on the strengths of Denzel Washington. He's so good in this again. He's so good that I want to see a third film, even though I didn't particularly love this. I still want to see that character again. I want to see that character given better material to work with. Because the film does falter in a lot of aspects, but none of them are to do with Denzel Washington. He's not only the best thing in this, he's one of the only really good things in this, with the exception of the kid, played by Ashton Sanders from Moonlight. He's very good as well, but that character is part of the problem. The performance from that kid is really, really good, but yeah, the character not so much. And it's not that the character himself is bad, it's the way he's used. It almost feels at the time that The Equalizer 2 is trying to do far too much. It's got too many things going on. For example, with this kid. So this kid, he's going to school, but he's kind of missing a lot of school, and he's being involved with a gang, and he could easily end up on the wrong side of the tracks, and he wants to be an artist, and Robert McCall is trying to guide him. He's trying to put him on the right path. And that is far more interesting than the actual main plot of the film. That's essentially the B plot. But the main plot with the murder and trying to find out who did it and the loss of his friend, that kind of, it doesn't really work anywhere near as well, and it feels like the film's trying to do two different things. It's trying to tell two stories, but it hasn't worked out how to equally divide them. Like with Miles, the wannabe painter, I want him to be alright. I liked this person as a character, but just the way he's used is so predictable. It all goes down the route that you would expect it to do, and there's one point in this movie where Miles does the stupidest thing, just something that really annoyed me, just to engineer him into the other plot, just to make these two plots connect. And it's just a really, really stupid move, and you'll know it when you see it, but it just really bothered me. And there's lots of other things going on here as well. Like the film starts with Denzel Washington on a train in Turkey in disguise, and it's, I don't know, I mean, it works, it's a fun sequence, but you get that introduction to him, and then we switch over to him avenging a girl who appears to have been date raped, and again, it's a very good scene, but it's a second introduction to this character, and there's just a lot going on. It wants to do so much. There's an elderly character in this, who, the final scene that you see him in is a really sweet scene, but why was this old guy in here? He didn't really add anything to the plot whatsoever. It just seemed like another shoehorned in thing. The Equalizer 2 would have benefited so much from being streamlined, from having some of the runtime cut off. It would have just made it a much more concise and enjoyable film, rather than it just seemingly jumping all over the place. There's so many moments where it feels like the momentum's building up, only for it to just be stripped down again and for things to slow down when they really should have just been kicking into high gear, and it just takes so long to get to that point. And another big problem here is the villains. Once the villains are revealed, once we find out what's going on, they so quickly, particularly the main one, just devolve into the most generic sort of villains you could possibly find. Like, they'll just shoot somebody just because they're in the way. Like, there's nothing to them, there's no layers to them, when it seemed like there would be. It seemed like until we found out who these people were, it seemed like there was room to explore who they are and why they do the things they do, but it very quickly becomes apparent that the Equalizer 2 isn't interested in that. It just wants villains for McCall to go up against, and there's no attempt to develop them. I say they're just so bland, so generic, and so dumb as well. There's a whole moment. The final act, by the way, is very good. There's a storm that's coming in the whole time. We keep hearing that the storm's coming, the wind keeps picking up, and it's used in a really good way. It's an abandoned town, there's a whole hurricane coming in. The setting's just absolutely perfect for the kind of action that they're doing. But there's a moment where the villain says that he's got an alternative plan. He says, you've got to have a backup, and then he reveals what that plan is, and it's just, well, why didn't you do that from the start? Why did we have 25 minutes of McCall running around doing his vigilantism and his awesome action, and the action in this is amazing? Why not just jump straight to that point to begin with? There's a lot of logic leaps here, and it really, really affects the film because it takes you out of it. And it leads to a final fight that's pretty uninspired as well. Let's say that last act is very, very good until we get to the final bit of it, until we get to that last fight, and again, it just goes very, very generic. It always seems like there's room for this film to become awesome, and it never quite takes that step to finally do it. But as I say, even though I've got many, many problems with the movie, even though The Equalizer 2 isn't a film that I love, it's not one that I'm in the rush to see again at any point soon, I still want to see a third one because of how much I like the character of McCall and the way he's played by Denzel Washington. It feels like we could have a third one here, and I'd be welcome to see it. Like, I'd be happy to see a third installment of this if it was done right. Because, yeah, Denzel's great, the character's great, and I think given a better script, given better material to work with, The Equalizer 3 could be absolutely awesome. It just needs to be done right. And yeah, this one wasn't. This is a definite step down from the first one, which I only just watched recently, actually, and I really, really enjoyed. And I was hoping this one would match that, and it doesn't. It definitely falls short. I'm going to give The Equalizer 2 a 6 out of 10. Have you seen The Equalizer 2? If so, let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and let me know your favourite Denzel Washington movie as well. There's so many to choose from. I've always got a soft spot for Unstoppable. I don't know why I love that film so much. Hit like, hit subscribe if you enjoyed this video. More reviews coming soon, as well as an episode by episode for the first part of Buffy Season 2. That'll be on the way at some point next week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.